Recognizing the member for Boundary Similkameen.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Thanks to the Lekwungen-speaking people whose lands I'm on today, also to the Tsilhqot'in-speaking people whose lands I live on. I'd also note the landmark decision on Friday regarding one of those Tsilhqot'in-speaking peoples, the Sinixt Limla. I stand in front of you this morning, Mr. Speaker, to address this House on the matter of expressing gratitude to our teachers. Gratitude to our teachers, our educational assistants, our instructors, our tutors, our school counselors, our elders, our coaches, and I'm sure many others. All those who have a part to play in helping guide and nurture our community's children. But I don't want to highlight, nor is my gratitude today aimed at, the job that they have been hired to do. I want to highlight all the peripheral, all the intangible facets of what these people do to help support the well-being of our communities. But first, I'll ask your indulgence to allow me a brief digression. The word economy is derived from two roots, oikos, meaning house, and nimian or nomos, meaning management. This is where I want to start. I start here because it highlights an evolution in the our understanding of the term economy, which would mean management of our homes, or more broadly, our environment or surroundings. To shift towards a more narrow and reductionist concept, relying on the things we can count more easily, such as money, as a key measure of our economies. And I would also wager that very few of us here in this House think of our household management, how we actually make decisions about what we do with our families' money or our family's time, based on solely things we can count easily. More realistically, we make decisions based on what we value, what is important to us. Love, nature, pride, lust, compassion. These are examples of the types of values that lead us to make what may seem like poor decisions, at least from the perspective of the easily quantified, for example, money, in favor of things that really matter to us, but are intangible and brutally difficult to count or to quantify, like love or friendship. We gather and break bread, or at least we used to, with our friends not for a quantifiable reward, but for the relatively intangible pleasure of how that social connection makes us feel. These intangibles really are the foundation of our economy, even if not the measure of it. So that's what I want to speak to today. When I speak of gratitude to our teachers and school staff, it's not the tangible, obvious elements I'm spotlighting. It's not their jobs per se or the delivery of curriculum. It's all of the more subtle, additional, often invisible energy they dedicate in order to enable our children to thrive. We all know, I believe, how painful and difficult this last year and a bit has been on so many of us. Economic impacts are staggering, of course, and we have lost nearly 24,000 lives in this country alone. These are elements of the immediate impacts of a pandemic. Yet pandemic researchers knew long before COVID-19 that the psychosocial impacts of influenza pandemics were likely to be greater than the immediate physical health impacts. Before going on, though, I should define psychosocial, a term I certainly wasn't familiar with until I was deep into post-disaster trauma and recovery in my own community years ago. Psychosocial health is a multidimensional term that encompasses the mental, emotional, spiritual, and social dimensions of health. Or, in other words, our wellness associated with our thinking, feeling, being, and relating selves. I'll quote a section from BC's Community Pandemic Influenza Psychosocial Support Plan, which in turn is part of our pandemic response plan for BC. Quote, the size of the psychosocial footprint of a pandemic, for example, fear-driven behaviors, impaired decision-making, social and family functioning, psychological disorders, decreased workplace and school performance, and acute or chronic stress, is likely to be much larger than the medical footprint, end quote. I've spent half my time here setting the frame for this statement, and perhaps that's excessive, but it's not accidental. Our education system and the champions within it are playing a key role in nurturing the well-being of our youth, and that is enormously important right now, and will be in the months and years to come. On Thursday afternoon, in my small hometown, I happened to pass a troop of little people, grade 4 age, trundling off downtown to our local art gallery. They were smiling and laughing and talking as they walked in the sunshine. At the head of that line of distracted and rambunctious kids was their teacher, Amy. She had decided to take those kids to see an art show that was in turn the product of a whole diversity of elementary school kids' art that had been done in an after-school art program by another compassionate and creative soul in our school system, Carol. They had collected hundreds of pieces of art from these children, all created in the midst of this pandemic, and had worked with our art gallery to put on a show of these children's art. Everything from Cashlin's magic wand and Sylvie's grumpy cat painting to Oscar's cannibal Barbie and Juno's earthy clay bowl. The art show, the teacher taking her students out on this adventure, these aren't actions that are required of these champions in our educational system. And yet again and again, we see these people, these bright lights, going so far beyond the call of duty to make life good for our community's children. Indeed, this teacher, Amy, also put her hand up to teach pandemic basketball and ski lessons, and now indeed to coach soccer for these kids, all in her own time. She's surrounded by similar stories in my writing, and there isn't enough time to share them here now. These acts aren't unique in the schools in my writing. Every day, all across the province, teachers, EAs, coaches, they're volunteering themselves to go this extra mile and make life better for our children. So take a moment today to thank those people in your environment who are helping in ways that aren't easily seen or easily recognized or easily noticed. They are the ones with these actions who are weaving the threads of resilience and adaptation into our communities, and they deserve our thanks. Indeed, the roots of psychosocial wellness run deep, and these actions nurture and strengthen that foundation, in turn setting the stage for so much that is yet to be. Our society has, without words, asked an enormous amount from our teachers and so many others during this pandemic. So please, let's recognize and appreciate them properly. Thank you.